This is the Blood Red podcast from the Liverpool Echo.
Hello everybody and welcome to the latest Liverpool Blood Red podcast with me, Ian Doyle. Joining me today, I'm delighted to say, certainly for me the last time, it's our full-time Liverpool correspondent, both home and away, James Pearce. Hi Jay.
Hello Ian, how are you?
I am okay.
Refreshed?
I wouldn't say refreshed, I'd say very tired.
Very tired? Yeah, just had 3 weeks off.
Yeah, I've just had 4 hours in work or however longer it is. That's a long time, when you've been off for 3.5 weeks.
You didn't even turn your laptop on, yeah?
Well, let's not go down that road. Hang on a minute. You've been off for 3 weeks.
I've been rushed off my feet.
Also joining us, it's a small band of men and women, because we've got Caoimhe O'Neill. Hi, Caoimhe.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm good.
Have you got over the fact James is leaving? I know you were very upset at the time.
I'm still upset.
He's not gone yet. He's still there. He's still got another four and a half days to enjoy him.
I'm all week, so I'm just going to, savour every moment, every cup of tea, because his teas are so good.
I got the teas in this morning.
You did, to be fair, everybody listening to this will know I'm a regular critic of James's brews, but he made a decent one today. So typically, after how many years? 14 years, is it?
Finally learned how to make one.
Last week.
Yeah.
Now, Caoimhe, you have been here, whereas me and James have not been here. Has anything of note happened that we should know about?
Don't know. Really joking. So obviously Liverpool have signed the Dutch youngster, and that's probably been the biggest noteworthy news, I'd say. Sepp Vandenberg, so he's only 17. We'll look forward to seeing a bit of him in pre-season training because he's going to be with the first team squad, so that should be interesting. Get a good look at them, and I'll be at Prenton Park, won't I, to have a little nose myself.
Might get a first glimpse of him, yes. He's also very ginger. Now, one thing that has happened today, James, that Liverpool have confirmed that Marko Grujic will be spending another season out on loan. He's going back to Hertha Berlin, or Hertha Berlin to pronounce it correctly. He spent last season there. He did very well. In fact, he was the departed coach I think the coach that was there last year has now gone off to coach the youth team, and the under-23s coach is now in charge. But the coach from last year said, in all my time here at Berlin, I've never known a midfielder as good as Marko Grujic, and they certainly like him, and there were a few clubs in for him in the summer, basically wanted to take him as well for next season, but he wanted to go back to Hertha Berlin, and Jurgen Klopp, for what led to believe, he's quite happy for him to go there as well.
Yeah, I think it's one of them moves that just makes sense for all parties, really. I think, personally, I'm glad that Liverpool haven't sold him. I think there's some talk a few months ago that, I think a bid maybe in the range of 15-20 million, they would have thought about a permanent deal, but I really like Grujic, and I know you kind of feel like the clock's ticking a bit for him because he did 23, isn't he now? But he did kick on massively at Hertha last season. They clearly loved having him. He loved being there, and yeah, I think it's just one of those that he'll benefit his development from playing there regularly in the next 12 months, and then it's kind of a win-win for Liverpool, because I think if he kicks on as they hope he will do, then in the summer of 2020 he may well come back and compete for a place in the Liverpool team. If he doesn't, and the thought is that it's too big a leap to expect him to force his way in, then Liverpool are going to be in a strong position to command a decent fee for him. And I think when you think he only cost £5 million from Red Star Belgrade, and I think Liverpool have already recouped that now in loan fees from him, another 2 million off Hertha for this coming season, potentially another $500,000 in bonuses as well, with guarantees about playing time. So yeah, I think on a number of different levels, this is one that makes a lot of sense.
Here's a question for you, Caoimhe. Have you actually seen Marko Grujic play in the flesh?
Possibly. Not that I can recall. Maybe did he play at Tranmere at that time? I think he might have.
He may in the friendly. Yeah, I think he may have played,
that pre-season when he was quite. Yeah, I think it might have been his first when he scored the header.
But you're not the only Liverpool fan or match-going Liverpool fan who's never seen him play, because he's played so few games, and I think we worked it out before, is that he's actually in the Premier League, he's played less than 60 minutes his entire time at Liverpool in the Premier League, which is ridiculous, really.
That is bizarre, but I think this is probably the best move he could have hoped for. I don't think he's breaking into that team next year for the next season. So he's familiar surroundings. The Hertha Berlin fans absolutely love him. The manager and I think the owners have been quite vocal about how much they love him. I think they've labelled him the best midfielder in the world at some point, so they'll be happy to get him back for another loan, and he's going to be the heart of their team, I think, and we'll get to see a little bit more of him, and he'll push on then, and he'd be thinking this is his it is probably his last chance to sort of be in Klopp shop window almost. He's got to impress this season to be kept on a further. And as James said, I wouldn't have liked to see him go, because what I have seen of him, I haven't seen much in the flesh, but you've seen bits and bobs from him, and he looks like a really talented player. So it would be a shame to lose him now, but he's got a loan deal to look forward to, and we can assess that come next season.
Well, James, he was obviously Klopp's first signing as Liverpool manager back, as you say, back in January 2016, and Klopp obviously got a lot of faith in him, because he identified him, brought him in, and he's quite happy to let him go on loan, certainly to Hertha, because he knows he's going to be playing, Grujic will be playing in a position that he likes, that he wants to play in. He's going to be getting regular football. You mentioned then about guarantees. Liverpool have sought them, but I think they should be okay. It's not like, say, the Ryan Kent situation at Bristol City where they were penalised because he wasn't playing there. And also, it's the Bundesliga. People forget, it's the German league. It's a very, it's one of the top leagues in Europe, certainly top three. I'd say top 3-4. The standard there is good, and if he's making an impact there for a second successive season, you can see why there were so many other clubs who wanted to take him on loan. Yeah,
I think Eintracht Frankfurt went from him as well, and then Brighton,
Werder Bremen, and Atalanta as well.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised, because whenever I've seen him play, I've always been really impressed with him. He's big and strong, picks a pass really well, decent shot on him. Even when he was young and he was getting some game time at Liverpool before the loan spells, the physical side of English football, no issue for him whatsoever. I'm glad that, because usually by the age of 23, clubs have kind of made their mind up about someone, haven't they? It's quite old to kind of still be in that position, but I think it shows that Klopp still thinks he does have a chance, and I can see why, because the problem and it's not just for Grujic, but you'd probably mention like Wilson and Kent and Ojo and all those players, is the bar is set so high now, isn't it? When you think back to not going back that far, where you had people like Suso and Andre Wisdom and people like that making 15, 20 odd 25 appearances a season. It's just not going to happen now. You're not going to you've got to be so good to even force your way into contention for the squad for this coming season. So Grujic will know that he's going to have to go and have a really big season in the Bundesliga if he's realistically going to kind of launch a Liverpool career a bit belatedly. But I still think he's got a chance.
Is there an indication then that the way that Jurgen Klopp obviously decided this is going to happen is that by giving him the chance to prove himself for next season, that you're looking at the likes of, perhaps time is coming up for James Milner, I'm just picking a name off the top of my head, Adam Lallana, players like that who perhaps are coming towards the end of the time at Liverpool rather than the beginning, that you could say someone like Fabinho and Keita, because there is so much competition in that midfield area, especially for a young player who's trying to make his way in a foreign country. I mean, it's an interesting point that when he went to Cardiff, Grujic, Neil Warnock, loved him, and he helped get them promotion, and they wanted to take him, and then Liverpool said no, we wanted to move him on another level. And the fact that the Hertha straight away we want to take him. So every club that he's been to, they've been desperate to keep hold of him, because they've seen over time when he's been playing that what he can do.
And I don't think it's even just the playing side of things. I think he's also a really, really nice lad, and I think that says a lot about him. The fact that everywhere he's been out on loan, they've been desperate to get him back, not just because of his ability, but what he's like around the squad, what he's like in the dressing room. He's a very popular figure at Melwood, and I think that kind of all adds to it, probably, for when Klopp's weighing it all up. Am I prepared to kind of cut those ties and give up on him? No, because he's probably not going to be of massive use to Liverpool this season when you look at the competition in those centre midfield roles. But you're right, in 12 months' time, Milner will be out of if he doesn't sign an extension this summer, he could potentially be out of contract then. I think it's just I think it's shrewd all round the way that they've come to that agreement.
Now, Caoimhe, there hasn't been any Premier League football, obviously, for a while. Champions League is over. Liverpool have been on a break, but there has been some football that's been ongoing. There's been a couple of major international tournaments, but the two bigger ones being the African Cup of Nations and the Copa America. I mean, the Copa America has been probably the most boring football tournament in the history of football tournaments. I think there's been about 2 goals in the entire time. But over in the
Suarez crying again.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he missed the penalty, didn't he? Yeah.
Colombia went out without conceding a goal.
Did they just draw every game 0-0 or something?
I think they won games, but they just didn't concede. And then they got beat on penalties, which was
three of the four
didn't have a shot on target, did they, against Uruguay? Yeah. And ended up knocking them out.
Well, three of the 4 quarter-finals were 0-0. It's just like, come on. It's supposed to be. I
think it's that sort of time of the season, like the end of the season, and obviously it's gone into the summer, and these players have been, I know the professionals and the fit, obviously, but there's that time where it comes and they do start to look a little bit leggy, maybe, and they do need a bit of a break, or do the minds go a little bit? I don't know. The Copa America is quite prestigious, isn't it, to the South American team? So you'd think they'd be more, but I think Salah had the same problem as well. I know he scored a fantastic free kick, didn't he, for Egypt, but in the first couple of games, I think he scored in the second one, did he? But the first one, he just didn't look. He looked a bit out of sorts, and I think that's because of what a long and glorious season with Liverpool. But obviously it would take its toll on anyone. It took its toll on me, let alone these players. And I went running around for 90 minutes every few days. So it's just hard because they're on at different times. I feel like you'd want to watch them more if they was, but obviously they're in different countries, Egypt and Brazil respectively, so it's hard to sort of watch. So you end up seeing in the morning just little clips, obviously, of Salah's free kick and little things. Obviously Firmino missed a penalty, but Brazil managed to go through anyway. And I think, do they play this week? Is it Wednesday?
Brazil Argentina, isn't it?
Yeah, that's that Wednesday. Yeah. So that should be, I will be trying to tune into that whatever time that is, because maybe then it'll just switch on because it's Brazil and Argentina, which is, massive, isn't it?
Well, that'll be done and dusted this weekend, but the African Cup of Nations, James, just seems to be going on for quite some time. It only started about, 10 days ago?
Last year, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah. It's and it doesn't finish till, I think it's the next to last weekend in July, so if Salah or Mane, and we'll mention Keita in a second, if any of them get to the final, they're not going to be linking up for Liverpool, possibly until literally just before the Premier League season starts, because they'll need a break. As Keeper has said, they've been playing football non-stop forever. Almost for the World Cup last year, and they didn't get much of a break after that either, did they?
Yeah, obviously Liverpool were grateful, weren't they, that the Africa Cup of Nations got moved to the summer, because to have lost them in January, as they had done in previous tournaments, would have absolutely killed Liverpool.
Was that part of the reason why they probably signed? They were quite happy to go with Keita and Salah. Because they knew it was getting moved. Yeah. And it's not just them, there's been other teams as well. It
took away that almost, one of those things you had to weigh up, didn't you, when you signed African players, the fact that you would lose them at that, a critical stage of the season.
Mane come back injured, didn't he, from the last?
Yeah.
And Matip was ruled out of some games when he wasn't even. He'd been retired from international football, hadn't he? Because he had that dispute with Cameroon.
Yeah. Just there was a lot of hassle attached to it, wasn't there? But it is ridiculous how, when you think, by the time Salah, if Egypt do go all the way to the final, it's essentially 12 months solid, isn't it? From when he kicking things off, and then even when he didn't really get much of a break last year, did he either as well? No. With I know he had the shoulder injury on the back of the Champions League final, but then Egypt rushed him back into the World Cup, and so it'd be interesting to see how Klopp does play it, especially with Mane and Salah. We're not going to be seeing anything of them in the warm-up games, and you wonder whether they're probably could be coming back just around the kind of Community Shield time, I imagine, and then you just wonder whether obviously there'll be another international break in September before we know it, and I just wonder whether there will be, if Mane and Salah go deep into the Africa Cup of Nations, there might be a situation where Klopp decides they will play in those early weeks of the season on the back of a very short pre-season, and then almost start their pre-season again during the September international breaks, because I think there was one last season where Salah had been excused from Egypt duty, and it wouldn't surprise me if there's some similar situation again, maybe with him and Mane like that, because Klopp will be, you don't want to, with the margin for error so small now, if you're going to launch another challenge for the Premier League title, you can't be saying to those two, don't worry about it, have another 2-3 weeks and get yourself, absolutely spot on for the end of August. Liverpool have got, they need them on board from Norwich at home onwards.
Now, Caoimhe, that brings us on to Naby Keita. Obviously, there was the big hoo-ha about 2 months ago now when he got injured against Barcelona. Jurgen Klopp came out and said, look, he's going to be out for 2 months, which means he's out for this season. He's got to miss the African Cup of Nations. And Guinea, his country, were not very happy with Mr. Klopp. They had to go back. What did he say? Tell him to pull himself together or something along those lines, didn't they? Which wasn't exactly complimentary. But it turned out that whether or not he's been rushed back or not, he did feature in the first game as a substitute for Guinea. I think they drew with Madagascar, didn't they? And then he played against Nigeria.
60 minutes in that, and they got
and then against Nigeria he lasted 70 minutes, I think it was. Then he went off with thigh and shin. I mean, I didn't see the game, but by all accounts he took a bit of a battering off some Nigerian midfielders. He got a few knocks, a few bruises, but we've found out today that he's actually gone back to Melwood, or he's on his way back. He may even be there now, but he's on his way back to Melwood for treatment and to get his injury looked at. There's some suggestion that a Liverpool doctor had a look at the injury before the game against Nigeria at the weekend. He didn't play, but Guinea won. That means that they're through to the knockout stages, which begins on Friday. We're still not sure what day they're playing on, but it's a bit of an odd situation, isn't it, where a player who shouldn't really have been there, from what Liverpool were initially saying, has turned up, played, got injured. Now he's back with Liverpool, and it's almost like Liverpool are expected to assess him and treat him and then send him back to possibly get injured again.
Look, I think it's a difficult one because, obviously he's proud to play for his home nation, and, it's such an honour to probably play in the African Cup of Nations for Guinea. He's the captain, he's the star of the team, isn't he? So for him not to play would be really difficult. Probably want to be there anyway, but there's that thing as well where they have definitely rushed him back because he's barely featured, and when he did, they brought him off and he had an injury and then didn't play in this game. So it's a bit of a weird one now. If he comes back to Melwood, gets assessed, and they say, oh yeah, I can't see them okay in it now because I know Guinea need him, and it must come down to the individual as well. He must be saying, look, I want to captain my nation in this. But I think Liverpool have got to make a big decision there and say, listen, what we're going for next season, we need him fit. And he was so good in the past few months. He just it took him so long to get into it, but then when he started playing regular games, he started slowly proving himself and settling into the Premier League and obviously the Champions League as well. And that was a big blow to lose him the way we did against Barcelona. But I feel like it is a difficult one. I wouldn't like to see him go back and then miss like so many months of the start of the season because we're going to need him. Yeah. And then it's like you've let players like Grujic go and stuff like that. You don't know what effect this could have on him. A simple injury could then be, if you keep playing on it or so. I mean, he's in the best hands. Liverpool got the best medical doctors and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes next. I'm sure
it is hard, isn't it? Because these players, you can guarantee Keita will be under massive pressure to keep playing and to go back, and because he is to Guinea what Salah is to Egypt. It's kind of, I know a lot of Liverpool fans don't have much time for international football, and and rightly so when you look at how
the players do, don't they? That's the thing.
I mean, it means so much to the players, and especially for a nation like Guinea, who just qualifying for the Africa Cup of Nations and getting through is a massive deal, and so he'll feel he will. He's basically torn, isn't he? Because he will have, I'm sure, Klopp and Liverpool kind of saying, well, no, if you're not 100%, you really shouldn't be putting yourself through it. This could have a detrimental impact on next season. You had such an amazing spell before you got the injury against Barcelona. This is your time now to really come back and kick on. But then, how many voices has he got in his head from back home and from the Guinea camp saying that we need you. We need, you're our star man. You're our talisman. You've got to get back out here. So, I mean, personally, I hope. Obviously Liverpool don't have the jurisdiction to be able to say, they can assess him and they can make recommendations to Keita and to Guinea, but, essentially, he's Guinea's player, isn't he, during this international time. But yeah, you just hope that common sense prevails and that he doesn't play any further part in the tournament, really, because clearly, Liverpool ruled him out for 2 months, for a good reason. Obviously as it was, he healed quicker than anticipated, but there's no doubt that his problems now, they've got to be linked to the fact that that everything was rushed, the rehab was rushed, and I hope that common sense prevails and he gets to put his feet up for a few weeks.
Having said that, is there a player who cannot afford to be missing from the start of the season more than Keita, Jay? Simply because of the way things happened last season. As Caoimhe said, he ended up finishing quite strongly, but it took him a very long time to get used to the pace of things. Everyone forgets he actually started the season last season, didn't he? He was in the starting lineup for the first couple of games. But since then, obviously, Fabinho's come in. You've got Oxlade-Chamberlain who's back. You've still got Milner, Henderson and Wijnaldum, and Alana will be knocking on the door. So there's a lot of people there in midfield. They'll have a chance to, certainly some of them will have a chance to prove themselves over the summer. And if Keita is in any way, sidelined because of what might happen to him with Guinea, he's the one player, isn't it, out of all of them that needs to be available for himself more than anything else.
Yeah, 100%. Because I think also there's only 2 spots available, isn't there, really, in that first choice midfield now, because I think Fabinho was so good in the second half of the season that I don't think anyone's getting close to that, taking that number 6 role off him. So it's just those 2 roles operating ahead of him effectively, and you think of the form that Henderson was in, the season that Wijnaldum had, Milner doesn't show any signs of slowing down, and you're right, with Oxlade-Chamberlain, he'll be, obviously Oxlade-Chamberlain be one of the first back at Melwood. He'll be there, I think July the 6th, this Saturday they start back, and so he'll be on an absolute mission from day one to prove to Klopp that he should command one of those 2 spaces. So that, you're right, the last thing Keita needs is effectively getting patched up, getting himself through the Africa Cup of Nations, then coming back late, then not being fully fit and not being able to do himself justice. Otherwise, he's going to be on the fringes, you'd imagine, for the first couple of months of the season. So hopefully he factors that into his decision making. But it's difficult, isn't it? Because I'm sure he must feel really, really torn between club and country.
I mean, Keith, the one chink of light out of all of this is, although obviously Guinea were very angry with Liverpool a couple of months ago, that they have allowed him to go back to Liverpool and Liverpool to look at the player, and if we're led to believe, check him before the game as well. There's at least this relationship, there's a dialogue between both parties that they're trying to do something that's the best for the player but also for themselves as well. They're not just being totally selfish about it by the sounds of it.
Yeah, I mean, there seems to be a conversation at least happening for him to have travelled back. It's better this than him just being injured and them keeping him in the squad and hiding these facts from Liverpool. It's important for them to be an open book in that terms. But I think, just coming back to what James said, it's worrying for him as an individual because it took him so long to cement that place, and then that sort of got taken away from him through his injury. And now, he's going to be, if he doesn't come back, straight, maybe he will miss the first couple of weeks of the season, but, that could even do him down. And he's going to be so low down the pecking order when players like Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain's going to come back fired and ready to go. And, it'll be, it's great for us because there'll be that competition there and they'll all be fighting for the places, and that's great for us. But, you wouldn't like to see him then on the sidelines for into December, or you just don't know how it goes. So hopefully you can get fit before the start of the season and make the right decision, I think.
Now, James, Liverpool sold somebody today, didn't they, for nearly £20 million?
They did, yes.
Yeah, you got there in the end. Yeah.
I was thinking, did they? Yes, they did. Yeah. In terms of the paperwork being done, Danny Ings completing his move to Southampton. So that was obviously that was all boxed off at the back end of last summer. The initial 1 month loan, but with the it wasn't an option to buy. It was nailed on. So 18 million guaranteed, a further 2 million to potentially follow in add-ons. And I think you'd have to say that was one that 12 months further down the line looks like a good deal for all parties as well. I think decent amount of money for a player that through no fault of his own wasn't really able to ever do himself justice for Liverpool. I think obviously the injuries cruelly curtailed his progress, and then by the time he did get back fit, as many players have found the bars set that high that I think he knew deep down that he wasn't going to get the game time that he craved. And Southampton seemed to love him. He helped pull them away from trouble in the back end of last season. Hopefully Danny Ings goes from strength to strength down there, because he again, someone who I don't think I've ever met anyone who's got a bad word to say about him.
Kiva, Danny Ings gone for up to 20 million then. Dominic Solanke went in January for 19, so that's about £40 million. Now, we know what Liverpool are looking at this summer. We know we've been led to believe that there probably won't be a lot of business going on, but do they still have scope possibly for getting a striker in, or do you think Liverpool have got enough there? I know we've been talking about this for months now, but you've had a little bit of time to reflect on it. Divock Origi's obviously could finish the season strongly. Klopp has a lot of time for a lot of faith in Ryan Brewster, wants to give him his opportunity, but with Firmino still in the Copa America, we've mentioned Salah, we've mentioned Mane, there's every chance that the normal front three won't be anywhere near fully fit for the start of the season, so there will be opportunities. And is there perhaps scope for Liverpool bringing in a striker?
There's that thing, isn't there, where we're not going to maybe have the front three back for a while together, and it's spending money on a player that might just play for them first few months and then get knocked out the side for the rest of the season.
But that could make all the difference, couldn't it, for Liverpool in terms of the Premier League? Because they've already said, John Henry said, didn't he, that the Premier League's going to be the main focus for the forthcoming campaign. So if they are going to put not all their eggs in that basket, but they are going to, it's weird, isn't it, when he said it actually, because they were thinking, hang on, Liverpool got 97 points. How much more concentration can they have on the Premier League? But you kind of know what he's trying to say there. So it will be the priority. So should they be bringing in a striker? Because it could still be somebody who they could then rotate out of the team, give the others a rest during the course of the campaign as well. I
think, if it doesn't upset the apple cart, because I think, Origi, what he's done for Liverpool, we've spoke about it time and time again. All the important goals he scored towards the end of the season.
I believe you've called for a statue.
Yes, I have. And the fans want an update now. It's still, we've just discovered a wasp nest in our shed, so plans are on hold.
Have you not moved house? That was my recommendation. That's what you should do. Yeah.
But we're working on it, and then I'll bring you an update. But getting Wakefield in for the opening ceremony to sing Saturday night, so that should be good.
You're not old enough to remember her, surely.
Yeah, actually, this is interesting. My sister was born on a Saturday night and in 1994, and what was number one? Saturday night. So she's having a baby this week, was it and it's a baby girl, so I'm trying to convince her to call it Divock, but I don't know if it's like a girl's name.
I suspect that might be a losing battle, to be fair.
But it's a sign that she was born on a Saturday night, and now
you have managed to give me the politician's answer there. I'm not actually answering my question.
I think
so should they bring in a striker, yes or no? If the opportunity is there,
I'm torn, because Harvey is like a fan where you just want, just bring someone in,
stockpile them.
Just bring them all in, buy everyone. But then at the same time, I know how the club are working now in terms of transfer policies. There's been a suggestion that they won't be spending big this summer from what they've done in previous summers. We seem to have that team there now, that bulk, but obviously these key players are going to be missing for the start of the season, so there is a worry, that we won't. And we know that we lost the Premier League by a point, so we know how valuable every single point is going to be. But I think Origi can step up again, and it'd be nice to see Brewster, because, as we've said before, I haven't heard as many good things come out of the club in terms of how, happy they are with him. And I think it'd be good to get a look at him and see, if he can have a little bit of an impact, and, he could be this season's last season Origi, if that makes sense. So who knows? But the fan in me says just go and buy someone, but at the same time, we're going to have the deadliest and best front three in world football to come back. So
do you still have an answer?
So
it's yes or no?
I don't have an answer. No, I'm going to go with no.
You're going to go with no?
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm going with yes, James.
I think Liverpool definitely need a versatile attacker. I don't know if it necessarily.
Well, say a forward.
Someone who could play, in different positions across that front line. I think that the squad's definitely short of that, because I think you only have to and Liverpool are very lucky, and it's there's a degree of fortune, but it's also just how robust the players are. But Mane, Salah, Firmino just miss so little football, don't they? But and obviously, touch wood, that continues. But is it really realistic that they will play 50 games each again this season? I don't. You'd have to say the law of averages suggests that one of them will get an injury that keeps them out at some point. And then you're in the realms of, is the backup of sufficient quality to ensure that Liverpool the standards don't drop at all? And obviously Origi, had an unbelievable season in terms of the moments that he had. But I still think he's got a lot to prove in terms of delivering it on a consistent basis.
Week in, week out.
Yeah. If suddenly, say, Liverpool lost Firmino for a month, is Origi going to really, dominate games and lead the line in the same kind of way? That's the challenge for him. I think kind of after the final, there was some suggestion that Origi's future would definitely be sorted this summer either way, with only a year left. Now I think Liverpool's attitude is, well, no, he's definitely staying this season regardless, and that they seem pretty confident he will sign the contract that's on the table. But if he doesn't, they're willing to take the risk of losing him for nothing the following year. So I think he'll definitely be around. So, but Brewster, I think the worry for me with Brewster is people are expecting too much from him, because it's crazy to think he hasn't even played for the first team yet, and there's been not through any fault of his own, because he hasn't hyped himself up, but there's been so much talk around him, and obviously he jumped into the public consciousness on the back of winning the Golden Boot and winning the Under-17 World Cup. But I just think the amount of football he missed as well. They missed like 14 months with those. He had knee surgery, had ankle surgery, and apparently he looked absolutely great in training in the back end of last season. But it's still a huge step up. And so I think...
Is he in a kind of a similar situation to Solanke? Because Solanke had that entire season where, I think it was an entire season where he didn't play because he was the contract dispute with Chelsea. Yeah. And then he was he the top scorer at the Under-20 World Cup? I think it was. He certainly won some kind of I think it was top scorer, wasn't he? So...
I think Brewster's a lot more talented, I think, than Solanke.
The different type of player, obviously. Different type of striker.
Yeah, there's a lot more excitement around Brewster than I ever heard around Solanke. And I think Solanke was just... It made sense for Liverpool at the price in terms of the compensation they could get him for. And
exactly. It's a brilliant piece of business.
Struggle to get an ISA that gives you that kind of return on your investment. But yeah, Brewster's... definitely from the people that have worked with him and coached him, regarded in a much higher bracket. But it's still, he's still unproven at that level. And so yeah, I'd like to see Liverpool. I still think Liverpool need to go and get a versatile attacker just to give them more depth, and and also factoring into the mix the fact that it probably is unrealistic to think that Salah, Mane, Firmino are going to be flying from day one this season, because I just think the way their summers have gone, that's just completely unrealistic.
So that's 2-1. The vote is cast. Liverpool will try and sign a striker now.
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? Because I don't feel like they will. Do you get that feeling?
That's a different question. Yeah, I don't think they will.
No, probably not. And I think
that's where I'm just being a realist and being like, no, but
we've kind of been in this situation a few times, haven't we? Where
you haven't mentioned Shaqiri there once either, have you? And he obviously played on the wing towards the end of the season, Barcelona, for example.
Yeah, and certainly Klopp trusts him more up there, doesn't he? He doesn't seem to trust him particularly as one of the two more central
in his own half
central midfielders. But yeah, the reality is Klopp he's not interested, is he, in A, just stockpiling players for the sake of it, and B, short-term fixes. Even you go back to, the back end of December when Liverpool had a centre-back crisis, wasn't it? And there was talk then about, would they get someone in, just to help tie them over, and Klopp was just like, no, I'm not going to sign someone just for a month. I'd rather just find, I'd rather play Fabinho there and find a solution if needs be, rather than...
He likes that though, doesn't he? He likes finding the solutions. He treats it a bit of a challenge, doesn't he?
Yeah. And I think he generally just quite a small, tight-knit squad, doesn't he? I don't think financially Liverpool are in a position where, of course, they could go out and spend big money this summer, but I think Klopp looks at it and goes, well, how am I going to improve that starting 11? I'm probably not going to be able to in terms of the players that are available out there. And then the challenge then is, if you want to improve the squad, how do you get players in at acceptable, kind of reasonable fees, who know that they're only going to be squad players? And I think he puts so much kind of emphasis on the unity and the camaraderie of the group as well, that he wants, he wouldn't, it's just not the way that he would do things, to go and spend massive money on someone just as a, that's there just in case he's needed. It's been, obviously, like most people, when all the noises were coming out of Liverpool towards the back end of the season, I think Klopp was quoted himself as saying, don't envisage spending on anywhere near the same scale as last year. And I think, people thought, oh well, of course he would say that, but when we're now 5 days away from the start of pre-season training, and the only one in the door is a teenage Dutch defender with one eye very much on the future. I think it shows that Klopp actually meant what he said.
Right, let's talk a little bit about Pep Guardiola, as he would sound if he was from Manchester, which he isn't. But James, he's been speaking a little bit about Anfield, hasn't he? And he's effusive in his praise of the old stadium, isn't he?
He certainly was, yeah. In interview with a Catalan media organisation. I think mainly from what I could deduce, looking back on, I think he was quizzed about Barcelona's humiliation at Anfield in the semi-final of the Champions League second leg. And
before we go any further, do you still feel like I feel that Liverpool have not got enough credit for what they did that evening?
Yeah,
I just do not think people have realised what actually happened then.
Yeah. And also, I think you factor into the mix the fact that a lot of neutral fans have heard moan about how crap the final was as a spectacle, as if that should somehow do down the achievement. I'd be like, I think Liverpool had given the neutrals enough entertainment en route to the final to forgive them. That
they won 3-1 at Bayern Munich. They won 4-1 at Porto.
I think we won the final at Anfield almost.
Yeah. I saw somebody wrote something that's saying that you won the final. Well, Liverpool won the final against Barcelona by beating them, and then the final was the equivalent to keeping the ball in the corner and just playing out. Don't know who wrote that, but I saw that. That was quite good.
Yeah, I mean, I watched. I hadn't seen. There was a video going around on Twitter last week actually that had I think it might have been the 5 Live commentary.
Oh yeah, I've seen it. Yeah, Ian Dennis, Alan Shearer.
Yeah.
Alan Shearer's just completely lost it, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Just when you think you've run out of content.
I know.
There's never enough.
Just pops up onto your timeline, and then you're back in the zone
Keep
again.
it coming.
But I think you're right. I don't think it has got. That was. Well,
when you consider the two we've mentioned, like Liverpool might have to do without certain players for the start of the season, they were without two, weren't they? That was Salah and Firmino weren't playing in that game.
Yeah,
and there was no Keita either.
And it is funny, isn't it? Because people love to do down, like the knockers. They always say, it's a myth, and then you get the away fans, don't you? Singing, where's your famous atmosphere and all the rest of it, and then the fact of the matter is Guardiola, who as anyone will know throughout last season, was absolutely paranoid for long periods about Liverpool and would always have little pops and moans and gripes and finger pointing and all the rest of it. And there's no love lost, is there, between the two clubs? But I think the ultimate compliment for him, essentially saying there is nowhere better in world football. And he said, I think he said, it's not some marketing gimmick. This is Anfield. He said I think one of his best quotes was, he said, when that ground is like it can be, it makes you feel small, and it just feels like the rival players are all over you. And Barcelona was the epitome of that, wasn't it? Because I think, I don't think we'll ever see a better night than that in our lifetimes at Anfield. I don't really know how you. Well,
how could you do it?
How it can
7-0 down against. Real Madrid. With the under 23s available.
It was everything, wasn't it? It was that was like, if you could have detailed even the times when the goals came, and everything was just perfect, wasn't it? That balance between taking risks but not being ridiculously gung-ho, every big player stepping up and delivering, and to do it without two of your best players, to do it on the back of Barcelona having had the weekend off, Liverpool having had an energy sapping night up at Newcastle, just made the achievement all the more magnificent.
Have you got over it yet, Caoimhe?
No, and I was just thinking then, it hasn't really sunk in, the whole experience of watching that at Anfield and then going to Madrid and watching that. I feel like will it eventually just be like, oh yeah, that happened? And I don't know, it's just the weirdest thing that we are champions of Europe, and
well, it's not that weird. They've done it 6 times now.
No,
in fact,
I know,
there's only 2 of the clubs that can say it's less weird.
It still hasn't sunk in. In 2005, it felt the most real thing that had ever happened because of the way we won it. But this just, obviously, it felt like, well deserved. But it just doesn't, like that night at Anfield was just so special. And, obviously the final was never going to be like that. But then it was so special as well, because that's when we lifted it. That's when we actually, won it. It just unbelievable. Like James says, the way everything just happened, the corner, which will be spoke about forever, but everything just seemed to be in the right just it all just come together, didn't it, in the right moment. And it's something that I think we probably should just we should have had a longer break to the final. I know it was long, but just longer, like 6 weeks.
We could not have had any longer to the final.
We would have maybe gone over it more, and then
we'd ran out of things to write about by the time the game came along.
But then maybe it would have sunk in. But I don't know. Just magnificent to think we are the unbearables now, and people will be annoyed because it's all we're ever going to talk about until the next thing, which is the Community Shield.
It's Community Shield,
and then the Super
not Charity Shield. Yeah.
The chance to lift trophies, they keep on coming, don't they, in the next few months? When you think, waited so long for one, and then
we're going to win them all now.
Shield, the Super Cup, that you'd have to say Liverpool start as big favourites to beat Chelsea in that, and then.
Do you not think they might? I wouldn't say chuck it, but you might think I know we're looking a lot further ahead now, 6 weeks off, but there will be the Community Shield will be games where they go, we're just going to treat this as a friendly because of the games that the players who could be missing.
Yeah,
it'll form part of the plan, won't it? They'll have it all mapped out. They'll go, right, we're going to go for this. I mean, not saying they're going to chuck the games, but they won't go 100% first choice team for these.
No, I think the Community Shield. The Super Cup, he'll definitely go absolutely full tilt at because he'll be desperate to win that. But the Community Shield, I don't think it's realistic at that stage when so many of the big players probably will only have just reported back. Liverpool aren't going to be anywhere near full strength, are they? And I don't think. I know, City suddenly started counting it as a trophy, didn't they? Once it was going to be the quadruple they were going for while they were still in the Champions League, and then they suddenly decided they were still going for the quadruple after they'd gone out of the Champions League, and obviously Mourinho decided he was going to start counting it as a major honour, didn't he, as well? I
think United fans, because they took over us then in the all-time major honours, so they were like, we won that. But
I'm not having it. I think it's just a glorified friendly.
I'm pretty sure
if you just shared it if it was a draw.
Yeah, if Liverpool's win it, you'll be jumping up and down and wherever you sat for that game.
The interesting thing for me will be how Klopp, I know it's obviously a long way off at the moment, but how he treats the World Club Challenge, because I think that is going to be a massive headache for him. And it is all a bit bizarre because I was speaking to someone at Liverpool last week who was saying they still haven't actually officially been invited by FIFA to play in it yet. And it's like, they only found out kind of second hand that it was definitely going ahead because, like most people, they thought in the process of this rejig that it wasn't going to happen this year. And that is far from convenient in terms of where it's plonked as well. Was it like second week in December or something? Where you're looking at a week, 8 or 9 days or whatever in Qatar. It's the travelling thrown in, and I know it's only 2 games, I think, isn't it? I think the European champions go through to the semis, don't they? Yeah,
they play they play on the Wednesday or Tuesday, and the finals on the Sunday. Yeah,
but it's kind of like how much that the knock-on effect in terms of how much in advance of the game do you go out there, and it's all right to say you could play a weakened team in the first one, and then potentially, and it might be it might be the Oceania champions that you play in the semis or something, and then you maybe only need a really strong team for the final, but then it's still not great, is it? And especially with it being December at a time when you've got that festive period so soon after you come back, so yeah, that'll that will be a massive dilemma for him, because how does he balance that up? Liverpool have never won it. I'm sure he'd love to be the first Liverpool manager to do it, but it's I'd worry about what repercussions that would have for your domestic form.
Keep a final word to you then. It has been exactly a month since Liverpool won the European Cup for a 6th time, which you believe is a bit weird. How are you feeling about the whole thing now? Have you come down yet? I know that you were very, very emotional, shall we say, in and around the game and for the days and weeks afterwards.
Yeah, I think like any fan, but like I've just said, it still doesn't feel real. And then there's still new content emerging and new things that we didn't know. And like the weekend, I wrote a story about Sadio Mane jumping into the big pitch sort of decoration, just jumping on top of it. And, these things keep sort of, coming from all day. I think that was maybe French television or something. So, I think it's just amazing, and there's a DVD out, isn't there? So I might buy that and see where it goes from there. Just watch Barcelona back to back, and then the final. That'd be a nice way to spend a Saturday night.
And of course, it'll help you get over the imminent loss of James Pearce.
Yes, which is, you know...
Have you just been trying to ignore that?
Yeah,
I know you were genuinely upset because you do regard him as your journalistic god.
He is a god.
This is not a joke, by the way, James.
Everyone
this is genuinely what you think, isn't it?
That he is a god. And, he might be signing his autograph for me before he leaves.
Sign the programme.
Yeah, I'll be getting
Never mind the players.
I'll get a selfie with him and then print it out and bring it to him and he can sign it. And I'll frame it.
Right, that should do us even. If you want to, you can contact us on social media. I'm at Ian Doyle Sport. Caoimhe, you are...
Caoimhe Sport, but it's spelled Caoimhe Sport.
James, you're leaving, so I'm not going to promote yours.
Got too many followers anyway.
Exactly, yeah.
If any of James's followers wants to follow us,
that would be good.
Absence.
Certainly good for our long-term prospects.
Yes.
Anyway, you can also follow us on the official account at Liverpool Echo LFC, or visit our website at liverpoolecho.co.uk/LFC. And on that bombshell, I'd just like to say, James, I'm not going to be here on Friday because I'm going down to London to get a visa for some trip that I'm going to.
Will you be back for the Leave and Do?
I will be back for the Leave and Do, yes. So this is our last podcast together. We even took it abroad at one point.
We did.
We did, in which you lied massively about Coutinho. Yes, you did. You know you did.
No, I gave an impassioned defence of why Liverpool should not bring him back.
Which was completely against what you actually believe.
No, it's not. Yeah. I would not have him back. I still would have him back. No chance. Made his bed, let him lie in it.
Anyway, it's been a pleasure working with you.
Thanks very much, Ian, and the same to you. And I'm sure if you'll have me back, I'm sure I'll be back in as a guest at some point if they haven't changed the locks.
Well, or they've just got rid of the podcast. I don't know what the hell we're going to do.
Can we get some slow violin, sad music just played in the background to this whole podcast?
You get that sorted for Friday.
No, for this podcast.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.